In this demonstration, we'll take a quick tour of the crystal ball ribbon, as well as show the core functionality around simulation or risk analysis. Crystal ball is an Excel application. It is simply added as a ribbon to Excel here in Excel 2007. The crystal ball ribbon is divided into sections, each of which relate to a step in the analysis or in the modeling process. On the left, the define section contains all the elements which I need to define inputs to my model. The middle section, called run, contains all the elements I need to run and reset simulations. The analyze section contains all the elements I need to report and analyze on the results of a simulation. The tools section contains additional tools which help me set up, run, and analyze simulations, as well as perform optimizations and time series forecasting. And finally, the help section contains many resources, including example guides and documentation. The core functionality of Crystal Ball around risk analysis or Monte Carlo simulation is easy to explain using a very simple demonstration. Let's assume that we have revenue, that we have expenses, and therefore we wish to forecast profit. If our expenses for next year are forecast to be our revenue are forecast to be 100 and our expenses are forecast to be 90, then our profit should be 10. However, we know that there's variability or uncertainty around this. We are making assumptions around our input. Perhaps our revenue should be defined as between 90 to 110 with a likely value of 100, and expenses might be lower or higher than 90. So if we're making assumptions about the inputs because we know there's variability around them, then it stands to reason that there's variability or risk around achieving our desired outcome. So profit may not be exactly 10. And this is where we normally get asked questions such as, well, how sure are you? What is the likelihood that profit will be at least 10? Or is there any chance that we'll lose money on this forecast? All those questions are very difficult, or in fact impossible to answer without running a simulation. We can try to approximate them with a number of manual what-ifs, but there's no statistically valid way of answering those questions save by using a simulation, which is what we're going to show. So first we need to define that variability around the inputs. And we've said that perhaps we've been told that revenue can be as low as 90 and as high as 110. I'm going to click this Define Assumption button here in the ribbon and choose a triangular shape. And I'm going to set my parameters as being between 90 and 110 with the likeliest value of 100. I click OK and the cell turns green, which is Crystal Ball coding for assumptions. Same for our expenses. We perhaps have been told that they can be anywhere between 85 and 105. I'm going to choose a uniform shape and put in my parameters. I have many tools in Crystal Ball that can help you define which shapes to use and which parameters to put in, but we're just going to do it simply and manually today. Profit then is the thing we want to forecast. So we're going to click this button called Define Forecast, and we're going to define it as, give it a name called profit. Cell turns blue, which is color coding for a forecast. Now we're going to run a simulation. All that is, it's a series of single-step trials. If I click the step button here, you can see the green cells and the blue cells all changing. Each is a different what-if. If I run 1,000 what-ifs all at once, now I get as an output my forecast chart. I can see on my forecast chart that my base case, my original estimate of 10, is still there, but it is just one number amongst many. And now I can see the full range, so this is where I can answer my questions. What is the likelihood of achieving a profit of at least 10? So in this lower left-hand corner, I'll enter the number 10. And immediately the chart shows me that my certainty is only about 24%. So there's only about a 25% chance that I'll achieve that profit. There's a large certainty that I won't. Our second question was, what is the likelihood of not making any money? Negative. So here in the lower right-hand corner, I'll type in 0. And the certainty, 25.26%. There's a pretty chunky chance that I'm going to lose money on this project or this forecast. Or I can want to calculate, well, what's my lower and my upper, my min and my max. If I assume that I want an 80% certainty, then I can see that I am 80% confident that my profit will be between 4.24 and 13.8. And I can add to that with an expected or a mean value of 4.80. I should expect 4.80, but it can be anywhere between negative 4.24 and positive 13.80 with an 80% probability. I can also look at a sensitivity chart, which tells me of my two inputs, revenue and expenses, which has the largest impact on the variability of the outcome. In this case, we see that expenses has a much more larger impact on the variance of the outcome of profit than revenue does, which is actually a good thing because we can control expenses a little bit more than we can control revenue. So if we manage to reduce the variability around the expenses, we should be able to reduce the risk or the variance around profit. That concludes our simulation. We have looked at the basics of the crystal ball ribbon, as well as the core functionality around Monte Carlo simulation and its outcomes in terms of forecast charts and sensitivity charts.